Welcome everybody, Steve here. Well, we're finally at that point where we can start prepping and painting Project Grave. And if you've watched the series, now you knew that when I prepped this roof, I already sanded it down because I had it on the rotisserie. But it's been sitting around, so it's dirty. So one of the most important things that you got to do is make sure that it is clean. Because we put some paint on there, we want it to stick. Now for the most part, you just need to have a water-based degreaser, and of course, that's what I'm using right now, is a water base. If you get any sap or anything like that, that'll do the best job. But when I get ready to paint, I'm going to use a wax and grease remover. But I'm going to make sure I do it a couple times because we want to make sure that it's good and clean. I'll run over it with a scuff cloth. And we're going to do some prepping on the outside of the truck here as well. Take you around. We got to do some seam sealing on the back. So there's a couple little things that have to be done before we can spray. Now, if you've kind of caught the hint here, all I'm going to do is just spray the roof. Now, I'm not a big fan of trying to spray the roof the same time doing the truck. You know, if you're doing a quickie, go ahead. But, you know, you can see what I have to do here. You know, I'd have to set up some scaffold, get up here, I'd have to remove the scaffold so I could paint the door. And that's just a disaster in the making right there. So I'm going to paint the roof first, and then we'll go ahead and finish up with the rest of it. Yeah, these are things are getting exciting. Now this is a seam here that we've got to seal up here. And so we got to do some sanding, make sure that this is all prepped up, ready to go before we seam seal this. And wherever you're going to be doing some sanding, you know, got to make sure it's clean. Now I'm just hitting this overspray that we did when we painted around the window. Getting it all perfect. Now I did the degreaser on here as well. And just take your time with some 320. Happens pretty fast. Got everything all sanded up here. Now I want to do this seam. And I'm just running some tape because I don't want to get seam sealer everywhere. And we're just going to feather it all out. Probably going to need 2 coats of seam sealer for sure. Because once it... we'll take a look in the morning, but once it all shrinks a little bit, you know, you want it to look really nice, so. You just gotta kind of do your best here because there's some spots where there's no real defining line where you can put this. Of course, you need lots of paper towel. Just gonna put a real thin little bead in there. This is one of those jobs where you're really glad when it's done. Get a better angle here. There we go. Gonna get my thinner here, be right back. You're working with a seam sealer, and I'm just using a Dominion SureSeal black, of course. You always want just a little bit of thinner on your finger. You can just absolutely work magic with this stuff. Smooth it out really nice. Okay, and then we'll just continue along. You don't want to let this dry here, or you'll peel it off with your tape. Looking good. What I'll do, just give it a little shot of thinner. I'm just gonna finish it off on some spots that are a little bit rough. And tomorrow you can come back and even do this again after it dries. You just work magic with this. You don't want any high spots, so you just work them out. And don't worry about the residue. It's easy to clean up tomorrow. If you worry too much about the residue, what'll end up happening, just got a little thick spot right here, is you'll start taking it off all over the place, and you don't want to do that. Looks good. And this will just feather out all the rough edges. Tomorrow when it's all dry, it's going to look really good. Just wiping off the residue from yesterday, doing this seam. That just wipes right off. It's really easy to clean up. But we're not going to put our second coat on till the end of the day, because I want to do some sanding. And if you put it on there and it's wet, you get some dust in there, then it's gonna kind of be there forever, so we are not going to do that. Looks pretty good though. Even at this point, you know, if you got a high spot somewhere and you're not happy with it, you could just take a rag with some thinner on it and wipe her down a little bit. Make her look as good as you want it to. This already looks better than the original. So we're going to continue on sanding today. Now what I want to do is I want to get everything done with 220. This is my final coat of primer on here, so I just want to start it with 220, give it a little bit of guide coat, hit it again with some 320. But I want to get everything all sanded up top because I want to, hopefully tomorrow we can get some sealer on the roof, and then once that's done, then I can finish sanding everything, prep it all up, let this dry for a few days, mask it off, and then we can spray the body. So we'll just take our time. This is one of those days where you just got to go slow. Slower you go, better it's going to turn out. Now if you've done a good job on your body work and your initial prime, sanding, the final sanding goes quite quickly. And if you just give it a quick scuff with the 220 like I'm doing and then finish with 320, it happens pretty fast and you end up with a pretty straight paint job. Now I'm just going to block the top area up here, and down here it's getting covered up, so that'll be done with the orbital. Alright, putting down our second coat here of seam sealer. Now it looks pretty good, but there are a couple little spots, you know, that could just use a little bit more. So what I'm going to do, yeah, just look like that, that'd be nice. I want this to be a little flatter than just using your finger on our final one. So I'm just using my little plastic spatula here and then just flatten it right out. A little thin over here yet. Put a little bit more on. This dries up pretty quickly, so you may have to spritz it a little bit with some thinner. just so that this guide's nice and smooth and easy. Looks good. And once that's done, we'll just give her a nice little smooth out with our finger. Of course, I grabbed the one with all the stuff on there. Let's get rid of that. Just going to pull the tape off so that it doesn't dry. That looks good. That looks really good. Now let's see what happens if I just give her just a little bit of just to feather the edges out just a hair. Really light. Well, I'm quite pleased with that. And then, of course, tomorrow we'll come in and we'll clean everything up. Don't worry about doing it now, because you don't want to wreck that perfect little bead that you just put on there. This is no doubt the worst part of the whole sanding is getting in around your windows. You just got to take your time. But I want to get it done because I'm going to paint the drip rail, and I just don't want to be close to anything that I've been painting, so this makes sense. And psychologically it helps if you get all the rough stuff done first. Time to tape everything up. Now I'm using this plastic here. This is awesome stuff. You have to buy this at the automotive store. But paint will stick to it if you got it on the right side up. This is great stuff. It's been around for a while. It's just I've never used it that much. And then once I started using it, now I can't stop using it. Love it. I don't mind the taping part. It's one of those things where, you know, you can't really rush it because you make a mistake, then you're having to fix something, so take your time. Setting up some scaffold here. Now you can see the reason why I want to just paint the roof first, because you know, to get up there I need to be up pretty high, and if I have to move this to you know, paint the rest of the truck while you're getting dust everywhere, it's just not worth it. So I just want to make sure my plank doesn't twist on me. That side will be good. Get the other side, it's the same. Well, now that everything's all masked up, just a matter of wiping it down with some wax and grease remover, tacking it off, and then we'll get some sealer on here. Exciting! So what I'm doing here now, I'm just taking a piece of 1200 grit and just lightly going over the epoxy, and it'll catch any little bit of a dust spot that may have settled down. But what also does, if you just run your hand, it just got a little bit of a texture to it, and this just smooths it right out. Gives you one more level of just being better. You know, if you can do one little step to make your finish better, do it. And this doesn't take hardly any time at all. I just go in a nice light circular motion like you're polishing, and it just turns out so smooth. That's so nice. A little blower off, tack it. If you're noticing some fish eyes, you can wipe it down. As long as you're using a wax and grease, you don't really have to worry too much about it damaging the epoxy. And one of the things I did do is I washed my hands first before I started doing this. This is the best part of paint jobs. Taking the paper off, plastic off. It looks really, really good. Can't wait for the rest of it to be done now.